Welcome back to the Bourbon Note, everybody. I'm Ben. Got another sample on the bar. Let's get into it. So on the bar tonight, I've got, bam, this is a sample of Balcones True Blue Texas Blue Corn Whiskey. This is courtesy of Piper John. Thank you very, very much, John. Excited to try this. And I should probably give a caveat before getting into this review. As some of you may know, I'm not a big fan of Texas whiskey at all. I have, in the last year or so, had a couple that I can tolerate. And that's, well, a couple that were actually really good. I have like the Still Austin cask strength store picks, and the Rebecca Creek was really good. So this one actually comes from a distillery that in particular I have not had good luck with. So I mentioned one night in a live stream, I think it somehow got brought up in the chat about the blue corn whiskey, and I said I'd always been curious about it because I wanted to try the corn whiskey, but I just couldn't bring myself to buy a Balcones product just because I haven't liked them in the past. So John was nice enough to let me know that he had some of this and sent me a sample of it to try, so I don't have to go buy it. So what is the proof on this bad boy? It is a store pick. Blue corn whiskey, 63.8. So what is that, 127.6 or something like that? I'd be shocked if that was right. On the nose, it's interesting. That's for sure. There are some Texas vibes going on. I will say that. Interestingly, there's a weird sweet note coming off of here, almost like a sweet tart, like candy, which is interesting because the rest of this is kind of dark and a little bit musty, but there's this weird, like bright sweet tart aroma coming from it. Man, it's definitely different. I must be like particularly sensitive to that kind of Texas funk. Some of you that have experience with Texas whiskey probably know what I'm talking about. And that gets a little overwhelming for me, and it kind of covers up all the other notes. So that's kind of mostly what's showing up here. I'm getting a little bit of a chocolate note, like a Tootsie Pop. There's a little bit of that sweet tart in that chocolate note. Kind of remind me of maybe like a Tootsie Pop. So, all right, well, enough on the nose. Let's get into the palate. Cheers. I don't hate that. That being said, I have no idea how to describe that. It's a little weird. It's definitely unique. It doesn't taste like, well, it's corn whiskey, so it's not bourbon. But so corn whiskey, by the way, if you don't know, one of the things that separates it from bourbon is it has to be made, I think, 80% corn, but you can make an 80%, you can make 100% corn bourbon if you want to. The main difference is in the aging. So corn whiskey has to be aged basically the opposite of bourbon in two separate directions. So bourbon has to be aged in a used charred cask. Corn whiskey has to be aged in a new uncharred or used charred cask, or so I've read. So it's like the opposite of bourbon in both directions. So yeah, very interesting. I just have a hard time describing stuff like this. I've had other whiskeys that remind me of this. It has kind of there's a dark richness to it. I'm not really getting that sweet tart note so much on the palate, but I am getting that kind of chocolate note. And it almost reminds me of like dried tobacco leaves or something. It's very interesting. I got to get one more sip of this and pick it apart a little bit more. Let's get into that. So, truth be told, when I got these samples in the mail a few days ago, I opened this up immediately and had a sip of it. Just because I've been so curious about the blue corn whiskey for so long, and I finally had some. I just wanted to try a little bit of it, and I did not like it. And I got to tell you, this is growing on me. Like the first sip I had of it today, and I had a very, very small pour of it, like maybe literally just a couple of sips. when I opened it, and that was a few days ago. And the first sip I had today, I didn't mind. And now I'm starting to kind of like it a little bit. But it does have, I'm almost noticing a bit of like, there's a bit of the tobacco, I think is what I'm getting there, a bit of the chocolate, and I feel like there's some like darker fruits underneath that, a little bit of like maybe a raisin or a fig, which I've had on a couple other bourbons recently. Maybe that's just me lately. But yeah, this is actually pretty good. I don't know how much these store picks cost or how much just a regular cask strength version of this would cost, but yeah, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm interested in exploring some more Balcones stuff because, again, I have not been a fan at all. And to be honest, I don't know if this is enough in my profile that I would maybe go out and buy a bottle of it. But it's certainly, if this is a really interesting whiskey to bust out when you have like your whiskey nerd buddies over, and if they haven't had something like this before, this is a good one to do a couple of pours of and try to pick it apart because it is very difficult to explain. Let's go in for one more before we get out of here. I think I actually like this. I don't think that this is an everyday, regular, all the time whiskey, but this is like a good once in a while, you know, you want something a little bit different. There is a consistent note in here that I've gotten on some Texas whiskeys, not all of them. This doesn't really just have that Texas moist funk, which would be a great band name. That some of the other Texas whiskeys that I aggressively hate have, but it does have, there's a note in this that I've noticed in some other craft, like more craft distilleries that I actually like, and it's a consistent note and I have no idea what it is or how to describe it. And so one of these days I gotta just sit down and try to pick it apart. And maybe it's just its own thing. Like we use all these other words to describe what whiskey tastes like tastes like caramel, tastes like vanilla. It's like, okay, well then what does caramel taste like? And try to describe that. And it's like sometimes maybe something just is what it is. And so I don't know what that note is. I don't know how to describe it. Maybe it's just, that's what these whiskeys taste like. And maybe there is nothing to describe it. But anyway, enough of that rambling. That's for a whole nother video. I'll try to sit down and pick apart a Texas whiskey and figure out what that note is. But yeah, this one's pretty good. I got to tell you, I am very surprised. I was not expecting to like this one, and it has grown on me with every sip. So Piper John, thank you very, very much for sending this, because I definitely would not have gone out and bought a bottle of this, I should say. And yeah, I'm not sure, depending on the price, if I still would run out and grab one, but yeah, I'm not opposed to it. So, and that's a big step for me, especially when it comes to this particular distillery. So anyway, this has been Balcones Texas Blue Corn Whiskey, store pick, cask strength, on the bourbon note. I'm Ben. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you in the next one.